Hello, welcome to my channel and KTRT review. And this is a KTRT review that I've been dreaded doing, to be honest. I've been putting it off for a couple of months because it's this. Well, how can I put it? This toy is it doesn't do a lot, but there's a lot to it. If you know what I mean, if you can understand what I'm saying. It's not a transforming toy in the normal sense. It's more akin to a like a Power Rangers Megazord figure. It's three sort of beast units that form together to make a big robot, and then you can add two other figures from a previous toy that I've reviewed and make it into something even bigger. Now, I first got this toy back in February, middle of February, and around that time I'd got the final pieces to review this guy, Biklonz Infinity, and as you can see, this thing is rather large, but it is also mega heavy. It's got really unusual joints on it. It's hardly any posability whatsoever. Looks great, but you can't do a lot with it, and this figure is kind of similar to that, but we'll just put him off to one side. So, first of all, I don't know how long this video is going to run out. It's probably going to be quite long, probably 35-40 minutes. I don't know, we'll see how it goes. But I want to do a little bit of backstory. Biklonz is a toy line from Young Toys. It's sort of their answer to the Power Rangers, kind of. It was a very popular toy line and series in Korea. They did 5 series of the cartoon show, including a couple of sort of like spin-off mini-series. And Infinity was the original 5-bot combiner that was from, I think, seasons 1 to 3, and then from season 4 was it season 3? Anyway, they moved over to this thing called Mega Beasts. Now, it started off with they had the original Biklonz, but then they eventually got them swapped out for these new Mega Beasts, and the first two to get done was Leo and Geo, who got their figures, which was Leo and Taurus, swapped for Direwolf and Sabretooth, and I've already reviewed those toys as the cross attacker. But those figures will come into play a bit later on at the end of the review because they form parts for the final combiner. But this other combiner, the Thunder Guardian, as it's called, didn't actually appear till halfway through the series, and then the other 3 siblings got their activators upgraded, and they got the new Biklonz. Now, it's formed out of 3 beasts, or Mega Beasts, and they are Unit 03 Argentivis, which is like a giant bird. Then you got Unit 04, the mammoth, which is a huge like robotic elephant. And then you got Unit 05 giant elk, which is a big massive deer. And we'll start off, as soon as it's close to hand, with Argentivis. Now, this is Argentivis. Just get the wings out. And it is a giant chunky bird. Now, this was Mio's new Biklon, and when she first gets into it, because she had Ares before, which was the ram, she struggled with this one because it was a bird effectively, and her first trial run in it was kind of disastrous. She made a few mistakes. She couldn't control it and caused a bit of a mishap, and she didn't really like using it. But a bit later on in the series, there's a few unfortunate incidents that befall her, and she starts getting the belief that she's jinxed, that she's bad luck for the rest of the group, and this is compounded by her school friends find out about this fortune teller in town, and they persuade her to go and see her. And the fortune teller is actually Madame Hyun, the evil, you know, cyber witch from, you know, the bad guys, and in disguise. And she basically puts a phony curse on her, and tells her that she, you know, she's cursed with bad luck, and if she continues doing what she's doing, then all her friends and family are going to get hurt, or something to that effect. And then that totally takes all her confidence away, and she doesn't want to fly with the beast. But then obviously something happens with the other Biklons. They get into a really sticky situation, and they need Mio to step up to the plate, and she does, and finally she conquers her fear, and she absolutely kicks ass when she comes back, and she finally gets the hang of using Argentavis, and then you can't stop her. She's out flying with it and doing, you know, tricks and swooshing around all over the place. Anyway, it's supposed to be a bird. It's got a beak that opens and closes. There's you know, a few joints on it. You've got these joints on the wings here, where you can sort of straighten the wings out. You've also got sort of joints here, where you can sort of fold the wings back, sort of. And it's got these little claws at the bottom, which open and close. And it's got the tail. I mean, to call it a bird is a bit of a stretch, because it's a big chunky thing. It kind of looks like a bird. And the name Argentavis, I mean, that's I think a bird from prehistoric times. So it's not really a bird in the modern sense. But there it is. And that's the first new Biklon from this set, Argentavis. And then moving on to Unit 4, we have the Mammoth. Now, as you can see, this thing is absolutely huge. This is piloted by Pio, the little kid with the glasses. He's kind of deliberate and hesitant in using this thing, and he's always reading up swatting up in the instructions manual. He has a few problems when he takes his first outing in Mammoth when he gets it, because obviously it's a much bigger creature and a more mobile creature than the Scorpio that he had before, and it takes him a while before he gets the hang of it. But it's a very powerful beast, and it forms the main part of the combiners to come. The figure itself, the head is fixed. There's a few joints on the trunk, but you don't want to pull it forward too much, else it pops off. The legs they do move, and they've got like sort of tilting pads, so you know you can pose the legs a little bit. But apart from that, it's just a big brick. It looks pretty, but it doesn't do an awful lot. I mean, there's these bits that go down there, but I think they're for the robot mode. It's big, it's heavy, it's bright, it's colourful, and it's a massive, great plastic elephant. It's pretty good. Decent enough figure in the show, character in the show, even though he isn't the main character of the set. But when he does make use of this thing, he does do quite well, and handles it decently once he gets the hang of it. So that's Mammoth Unit 04, piloted by Pio. And then we've got the final Biklon, 05 Giant Elk, and as you can see, it's a massive deer with some huge antlers. Now this is piloted by Teo, and he's the oldest of the siblings, and he's fairly independent. But he was Ursa as his previous Biklon. He was the torso bot of the Infinity Combiner. Now this time he's this thing. It's a slightly smaller and more agile Biklonz than he had before. Ursa was quite big and lumbering, but this one can race about and scoot about. It has an attack whereby it can launch its antlers in like boomerangs at enemies. It's got an opening mouth. The head doesn't really move. The antlers sort of go backwards and forwards, but that's part of the transformation into the combiner. It's got legs with some articulation joints on, but they're quite stiff. And they're limited in their motion. They only go forwards and backwards that much. So again, it looks nice, but you can't do a lot with it. But Teo, when he gets into this thing, it's like a duck to water. He masters it pretty much straight away, and he's very active with this Biklonz. And he's usually, because he does the cycle courier job around the city, he's usually out on his own, and he sees something happen with the enemy and the bad guys, and he's usually first on the scene, getting stuck in, and got his Biklonz, which is the giant elk, and that is that. It's it's a big green stag, for want of a better word. Can't do much with it. Looks nice. Again, nice and heavy, but doesn't do a lot. Now, these are the 3 units that make up Barbarian King. Now, you have to do some configuration with it, obviously. I think the best way to start is with the mammoth, because it forms basically the legs. So you remove the head, which becomes like a weapon. So you sort of fold them up like that, and it becomes. I'll push that down as well, and it becomes like a mace weapon that gets used by the combiner. The legs, you have to collapse the legs. So there's a little button on the side. You press it, and the legs collapse. And then you fold the legs outwards. Now, you have to... Right, so yeah, you move them round to the side to get out of the way. You then pull these bits out. And then you start pulling the legs out. Go around the back, fold those down. There's a clip here and a clip there. So you clip those together. And I think, yeah, that's right. Yeah, you fold that up like that, and you bring them up, and then you fold that forward. Oh, and there's these bits on the inside that also need to peg in. Like that. Okay, so we've pretty much got the legs done. So that's the legs from the Guardian. Then we get Mr. Elk. You fold that up and bring this down and fold these back. Then you collapse the legs. Shorten that, and then you collapse these legs in as well. And then make sure that's pegged in, and that's the torso. And there's the some sliding joints there and some little rails there. You have to just lift this up first. Have I done that right? No, I don't think I have. Oh, there we go. So yeah, so you fold them underneath like that. Fold those legs back like that. And you put it together and it makes noises. So well, that's better. So we just need to do the arms, which is where Exotica comes in. Now you remove the feet because there's a bit of parts forming involved, right? There's then this piece that comes out as well, and then you've got a big port there and a big hole in the back, and then this comes in. I can't remember if they fold up like that. Right, yeah, it's better. So this comes in and then connects like so. The bird head tucks down behind there. Then you get these pieces here and here on these big hinges, and you fold them forwards on these double hinges, and then you plug them in to there. And do that again. Like so. And then just straighten the arms out. You get the bird claws, which are actually the fists, and then you plug them in like so. And there we have Thunder Guardian in its robot mode, and it's big. It's chunky. Not a lot more you can say about it. It's very colourful. I mean, you've got green, you've got white, black, yellow, blue, red, all the primary colours pretty much. It does do lights and sound, well, makes noises. It's got a little button on top of his head, and it's got about a number of different sound effects that it can do, but yeah, and also sometimes when you plug bits in it makes a noise. So there we have it. Now articulation on this isn't the best. You've got the arms, which is kind of on an elbow there. It has got wrist swivels and it has got bicep swivels. Now the arms can only go up like that and can't really go out unless you do it that way, which looks stupid. So very restricted articulation up top. Head doesn't turn that much. Nothing at the waist. Hips, you've got these skirts that pull forward. Leg will go forwards that far, but it won't really go back much. The hips don't go out. They've just got one click to give you the A stance, and that's it. Got 5 swivels. Knees. Yeah, no knees. Nothing. Yeah, there is no knees on this guy, and his feet are fixed. So not much in the way of articulation, as you can see. He does have accessories. Obviously, you've got the elephant's trunk, which then becomes like a giant mace kind of thing. It will plug into the hand. The hand opens up, and then you plug the weapon in. However, it's so heavy, it cannot physically hold it. There's no way it can hold it. I don't know whether there's any locking mechanism for this thing. I can't see one. And then the other thing is a shield, which is formed out of this piece. You open it up, and then it comes with this little roundel thing, which plugs onto there, and then there's a handle that comes down, and then put it in the other fists, and it can hold it, sort of. Again, bit of an afterthought, the accessories. They don't really do much. Because of the nature of the hands, you can't really hold them, and they're so big and heavy. So there we go. That is Thunder Guardian. It's big, it's heavy, there's quite a bit of parts forming to make it, but there's not a lot you can do with it once it's in this form. That's what I meant by there's a lot to it, but it doesn't do a lot. Now, it does go one stage further, because this thing, you add the other 2 units from Cross Attacker, and it becomes Barbarian King, which is the ultimate combiner. Now, to start off with, you have to make it a bit bigger. It means doing something with the legs. So you have to fold them down. You then flatten the feet, and then you get these bits from the back of the legs, bring them around to the front, and they clip into the feet. And that makes him a little bit taller. Now, I don't know how I'm going to do this because it's big and heavy, and there's lots of bits flying around. Now you remove the fists, like 1 and 2, because we'll need them later on. You then unplug the bird arms and fold them back. Then you sort of configure them out to the side some way. It's not really clear in the instructions, because the instructions they're all in black and white, and they're very small, like very detailed CGI images that have a part that's highlighted in a darker shade, and arrows pointing in which direction it goes, but it's not entirely clear exactly what's going on in some of the panels. Anyway, so you sort of do that with that. And then you get the other two figures, and then you reconfigure them into limbs. Now I've already done this because, again, instructions aren't very clever. So here is Sabretooth in limb mode. So you get it and plug it in here. Come on. Now, the problem with these is they have the two of the legs from the beast, they're just folded around the back and they don't really stay in place that well. So you then get your fist and plug it in, like so. Yeah, alright. And then the other one, you pick it up and then you plug it in. And get the fist and plug it in. And then for the final touch, out of the shield, you remove this piece at the bottom. And this becomes his hat. So you put it on. And there we have Barbarian King in his final combined mode. This thing is massive. It's very large. Again, it's heavy. The joints are very awkward, and it got basically the same articulation as Thunder Guardian, apart from the arms now. It's kind of got a bicep swivel, but because you've got this chunk of alt mode sticking off the end, it is on a shoulder joint, but everything hits and collides, and there's not a lot you can do about it, really. So yeah, again, you can't use the weapons with it. You just can't physically hold them because they're too heavy and the fists don't grip them properly. So that is that. I'm going to do I've done some size comparisons with some of the biggest transforming toys that I've got, which I've done in a little photo montage, which I will add here. And that's about all I've got to say about it. It's very big, it's very impressive, but you know, when you compare it with another combining toys from other manufacturers like Transformers, it's just doesn't really work. I mean, it has got articulation of a sort, but it's because it's so big and heavy, you can't really do much with it. I mean, this stupid arm doesn't plug into anywhere. It looks impressive, don't get me wrong, it looks nice, but that's all it's good for. I mean, if you was to give this to a kid to start playing with it, one, it's heavy, and if it fell on them, it'd hurt. I mean, it's making my arms ache just holding this thing up. And, you know, this represents all the figures, Biklonz figures that they've ever made from all the series. And this is all of them here, all 10 units. So I've actually got a complete set of figures from, you know, KTRT line, and the series unfortunately got cut short in the season 5. It was gradually going along until it reached episode 14, and then they just, like that, they just wrapped it up in a single episode. They basically got rid of the bad guys, and they sort of left it open a little bit at the end, but the rumour that I've heard is that Biklonz got canned. It got cancelled, so they just you know, sewed up the show really quickly, and they were planning on bringing some extra figures out, because in season 5 there was another figure called, was it Loco Man or Train Man, which is like a big black steam train that transformed into a huge robot. But they were, as far as I'm aware, they were going to make this toy, but it was on show in one of their Korean toy trade fairs. But again, then the decision was made to cancel the show, and that toy got cancelled, and I really wanted it as well because it looked amazing. But yeah, Biklonz is no more. It's gone, it's finished. It was a great show, probably a little bit overly ambitious for what it was. It's been replaced with that Geo Mecha Guardian Beast show, which is what they're doing at the moment, and the toys they're bringing out from that are, they've got a different aesthetic to these, and they ain't as quite as well made as these. They ain't definitely not as heavy or as chunky as what these are. But yeah, it's a shame, because I like watching Biklonz. It's a shame there's no English subtitles or dubbed version. I'd really like to, because it had a really good story to it, great characters. Even the bad guys, they fleshed out the characters in it, and it was a fantastic show. But it's a shame it came to an end abruptly like it did. And I've got all the figures that they ever did, and that is my review of Thunder Guardian and Barbarian King. So that's it. That's me done with Biklonz. It's a shame that it ended the way that it did. They're great toys. They're really good toys, but you know, they have their limitations, as do all Korean transforming toys. And you take it or leave it. If you're into Power Rangers and like Super Sentai bots, then I think you'll definitely like the look of this. But otherwise, you know, you can take it or leave it. Anyway, I've been TFR Wilderness. This has been my review of some Biklonz figures. I hope you've enjoyed it. I've been dreading making this thing. I've been putting it off for months, but I thought, well, I better get off my arse and do something. And I've done it, and like I said, it's run out for about 35 minutes. So I will catch you all next time. Goodbye.